race. The formula is simple. One track, two cars, which is quickest?
And it's a battle of the coupes. Audi versus BMW. The brand new S5 takes on the highly respected 335i. The guy who designed the S5 reckons this is the most beautiful car he's ever produced. It certainly makes a change to see an Audi with a few curves, but of more interest to me is the 4.2-litre V8 with 350 bhp. 0 to 62 takes 5.1. Numbers that will make the 335 shift nervously in its seat. A car that, 6 months ago, was hailed as having a landmark engine now finds itself 50 horsepower down on its main rival. But the BMW is lighter and comes with a reputation for fine handling. And at about £35,000 is £5,000 cheaper than the Audi, which is where we'll start.
The fantastic thing about V8 is the grunt, that they will just pull you out of the corners, and this is no exception. Bouncy here, but the car seems to cope very well. Nice body control. The turn-in is good. The tyre's scrabbling for a bit of grip, but yet again, once more, I could actually do with a bit more feel from those front tyres. I seem to say that about most cars these days. It annoys me. Right hand. Back end starts to go a bit light, but then the front end grips and bites, and we're on our way again. Time to set a lap. So into the S's, onto the brakes, nice big brakes, down to third, lovely gearbox. Turn in, turn right, turn left. Along this straight, well over 100 miles an hour, onto the brakes hard, into third. Braking to bobbies. Coming up to the line, close line.
The Quattro Audi crosses the line in 1 minute 23.15. Time for the rear-wheel drive BMW. From the off, the 335 seems at a disadvantage. The smaller engine means it's nearly half a second slower to 62.
Though what it lacks in bhp, it makes up for in its power delivery. It's just a smooth. It's a lighter engine than Audi's V8, so that does give a little benefit to turning in. I have got full-on command of those front tyres. I know exactly what's going on, but I can keep the throttle on and just control the rear end through the steering.
But will that handling make it faster than the Audi? Start the clock. It's a flat-out drag race down to Quarry Corner, and the BM's power deficit means it's 1/10 of a second down.
Into second, into the S's. Right, left, power downs, back end sliding a bit, into third.
The 335 is hanging on by the skin of its teeth. Incredibly, the cars are neck and neck through bobbies.
Onto the brakes, leave it in fourth, I think, for the last corner.
And in our closest ever shootout finish, the BMW crosses the line just 0.06 of a second ahead. It's a triumph of handling over power.
E, F, G, H, I, J,
K,
L.
And M stands for two things: speed and handling. This is the new £50,000 BMW M3. From its featherweight carbon roof to ground-hugging diffuser tail, it's the most exciting car to be launched this year. Here's where the magic happens. A new, bigger, 4-litre V8 that somehow they've managed to make lighter than the old 6-cylinder engine. It produces 420 horsepower. And if that bothers you, then don't worry, because it's also greener and more economical. Well, a little bit. It's not so much an engine, more a laboratory, made in the same place that BMW build their Formula One engines. Even the humble spark plugs lead a double life as high-tech sensors of fuel density. The engine's brain carries out 200 million computations every second. That's enough to beat Kasparov at chess, making this the most advanced road engine in the world. With 20% more power and 10% more torque, the V8 has given the M3 a somewhat lazier personality. Its power delivery just doesn't seem quite so urgent. But you only need to explore the throttle to reveal the beast within. Got a half throttle, you feel the urgency, singing full throttle, and you soar up the hill. 0 to 62 comes up in just 4.8 seconds. That's quicker than a Porsche 911 and exactly the same as arch rival, the Audi RS4. Top speed is limited to 155, but how you get there depends on whether you use the power button, which doesn't actually give you more power. It simply sharpens the throttle response. So if you're sitting there with just half the throttle and you press the button, all of a sudden it accelerates because the throttle movement is now more sensitive. But it's the car's traction control settings that really impress. Here's a standing start with the traction control fully on. Go for a big rev, and it sort of goes nowhere fast. The power is reined in, leaving you stuttering off the line. Now, if I switch the traction control off, try the same sort of dynamic start with lots of rev. The rear wheels light up like Catherine wheels because there's nothing controlling that mighty engine. Now select M dynamic mode. Now go for the big start and it launches you off. The Goldilocks setting. Not too much, not too little, just right. It's amazing how quick the M dynamic mode lets you go without you getting into any trouble at all. Traction control's now becoming a much finer art and not that horrible constant interruption. But of course, at the end of the day, it has to go off. And with a choice of different throttle, damper and steering weight settings, all of which you can program into your handy M button, you can tailor the car's handling to suit. In my case, everything's set to extreme. Now, there's a little bit of understeer pushing into the corner, but as soon as you tap the throttle, you can get that back to do the turning for you. The steering feel as well is getting better now. I go faster. I've got that sport setting on the steering. It's a bit heavier, giving a bit more feedback. I can just feel what the chassis is doing underneath me. Brake-wise, there's a little squeak occasionally because they've slotted in some competition pads for doing lots of laps around this Po-Arnaud circuit. And they're very effective indeed. Cost a little bit more, mind you. The car is just alive in your hands and a real test of driving skill and fun and enjoyment. The M3 may have grown up a bit from its earlier student days, but under its new, more mature guise, it still relishes the chance of a wild day out.
It's always good to see the big man behind the wheel.